Hello and welcome to episode 15 of the You Are My Oxford show, brought to you by Nutmeg, the nostalgic football game which is coming out in March, but you can wishlist it right now on Steam, Dan.
Matt, I've asked my son what wish listing on Steam means, and after much laughing at me, he's going to show me. Are you steamed up yet? Are you wish listed right up?
Of course I am. What I am also is subscribed to is our show on both YouTube and Spotify, which I urge all our listeners to do, given, of course, it's free and you get notified when we post a new pod.
It would be nice, Matt, as well for us, because at 500 subscribers, YouTube would actually start paying us just a little bit, but useful beer money nonetheless.
Oh, that's interesting. What are we on now?
About 350. So we need some people to press some buttons.
So there you go. Listeners, come on, do your bit. Get YouTube. Get on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and that will allow us, of course, to buy a bottle of 3.8% Kassam Carlsberg just by you guys subscribing. Let's do it.
Yeah, just press that big subscribe button.
Enough preamble, I think. Now, at the end of the last episode, we promised you a guest. Now, that's still going to happen. We're recording him tomorrow and we'll release later in the week. But we thought there was a pretty damned impressive start to the Bloom Ball era, shall we call it, to discuss. And that should be our focus for now. Shall we crack on, Dan?
Let's do it right now.
Well, Leicester, wow, what a day. And Dan, you finally saw a win this season.
Having missed all of our wins all season, Matt, no, I missed it. Even though I had even though I had train tickets, I was cycling down to St Pancras and I fell off my line bike just by St Pancras station. I got into the station, I went up to the ticket barrier and I was like, I actually can't go on. I was in absolute agony.
Oh, no.
Listeners, for those of you who aren't watching, I am in a cast on my right arm and it's bloody painful and really, really annoying. Weighs an absolute ton, and I've got to wear this thing for 3 months. So I missed the game. Absolutely. And I was going to meet up with some friends there. I was going to have a curry before the game. I was going to have a few beers, and I would have watched the greatest game probably since we returned to the Championship. What do you think,
Dan? I'm so very sorry that you had to go through that. That is awful. When how much did you debate whether you got on that train or not?
I was thinking about it, and then I just, but the pain was just getting worse and worse. So first thing I went to a Cafe Nero or somewhere and said, "Can I have some ice, please, for my arm?"
Oh, wow.
And I kind of wrapped my arm up in my scarf, and I took it off, and you could see the swelling coming up there. It's like, oh, this is bad.
But of course, Dan, every Oxford fan will be rejoicing that you didn't go because your record goes on.
I still have not seen us win. But what a game. What an absolute game. I was listening when I could from the hospital.
Wow.
I must admit, Matt, I think many others, didn't see it coming when at 1:45 the team was announced. And I saw the lineup. I hate 5-3-2, Matt. I always have done ever since Steve Foster played there in 1991 for us. I'm not alone in hating the lineup either, given people's tweets and reactions to the lineup.
I mean, there was quite a lot of negativity before the game, wasn't there? I mean, if you went on social media and trawling the comments, it was like, right, Rowett Mark 2, we've just had kind of back-to-back goalless draws. We're going to get thumped again against Leicester, and then where do we go from there? And then we'll be relegated. But hey, Dan, what do we know? What do Oxford fans know? And it just kind of shows, doesn't it, that we know absolutely nothing. And, the other side of 90 minutes and our new manager is an absolute genius. And he's being commended for being bold. So, yeah, what does the humble football fan know?
I think it's really important we just think about this. I totally mustn't include myself in this. Almost every prediction I make always ends up being wrong. So I don't know. I just think so many people get wrapped up in kind of negativity, and all that does is spread further negativity. And none of us know. None of us are watching what happens on the training ground. None of us know, what the manager's tactics are. I saw 5-3-2, and I thought, oh, this is going to be terrible. I saw Sparky playing up front. I thought, oh God, he hasn't scored in bloody God knows how long, and doesn't even look like scoring. I'm just sick at having missed the game yesterday because it just sounded absolutely like such a great day out. The first goal, what a lovely little arrive by Sam Long, just darting in. What a player he is. I was being X-rayed at the time, so as I came out of the X-ray room, like my phone was pinging with like,
Mate.
yeah, get in, lads.
I've got such visions of this. I mean, you'll never forget this this game for many reasons. But Sam Long, what a player! I mean, Mr. Reliable. We've lauded him enough on this show to know that we absolutely love him. But he's got to add to his incredible repertoire of just kind of filling in wherever we need him, whether it's centre back across the back four or back five. He's also got a very important goal in him, which I love. Obviously, Sheffield Wednesday last year was incredible. Been a few others down the years, but this was another cracking little finish. And honestly, it was a striker's finish, wasn't it? The way, as you just said, that kind of darted in, and he just kind of clipped it round the keeper and went off to celebrate. It was, he could have been a number 9, as he wheeled away. But it was fantastic, lovely to see, lovely to see.
And another example, I think, of fans not knowing what they're talking about, because he always gets a hard time, and yet he is such a bloody great pro. The second thing we need to talk about, the goal that was disallowed. Now, it's bad enough we don't get penalties, but ref, you can't go disallowing our goals for our striker being fouled by their keeper. I mean, that's just totally insane. I couldn't sleep last night because I got this great big thing on my arm, but I was listening last night to various things. I listened to the Radio Leicester phone-in about 2:00 in the morning. And even they were saying it should have been a goal. That was the clearest goal I've ever seen.
Clearest goal ever. I mean, it's cut and dried, isn't it? We all thought it was a goal. The Leicester fans thought it was a goal. The only person in the ground who didn't think it was a goal was the referee, unfortunately. But I could only kind of think that maybe he felt sorry for Leicester or something. Like, they can't go 2-0 down against lowly Oxford. But it was just, who knows? Luckily, it didn't prove decisive. But Matt Bloomfield was pretty angry about it after the game. Sparky couldn't believe it after the game. So yeah, weird.
Real shame for MPH, who I think on that performance totally and utterly deserved a goal. The other thing now, Sparky's goal. I was back home by the time that Sparky's goal went in, and I was listening to it, and from the moment Jerome said Harris is through on goal to it hitting the net, honestly, it felt longer than the 3 months that I'm going to be in plaster. I am so pleased for him that he took it so well.
Never has a group of fans willed a player to score ever so much in the history of football. Like, I think that kind of 10 seconds between the moment he got the ball, incredibly from De Keersmaker, by the way, to the moment he stuck it away, it was like his whole kind of Oxford career was distilled in that moment. And I think every fan was thinking, right, if he misses this, that's probably it, isn't it? Because everyone will get on his back. This was kind of his chance. He needs a fresh club. He just needs to start anew. He was good for us for a time, but he needs to go. But score it and you go, right, mate, you are part of the rotation, with Will Lancashire, looking like a danger man again. And he finished with aplomb, didn't he? It reminded me a bit, and actually he mentioned it in the game afterwards of the when he went round the keeper against Burton in our promotion push when we went out of when we got promoted from League One. Of course, that was a Sparky where, when he didn't think about things, but he had so much time to think about this. But interestingly, his mind went to that game and he took it the same way and stuck it away. And, everyone was just so happy for him, because he's a great guy. And whatever happens, he'll go down in kind of Oxford history as like, a great player and all that. But, I think he's had such a tough time. And just to stick it away and wheel away and celebrate towards the Oxford fans was just fantastic to see.
It was a really, really lovely moment. Mate, you're a former striker, as we've mentioned in previous pods. What are you thinking when you're running through in that situation?
Well, that's the thing. You don't like to think, because when strikers think too much is when things go wrong. because you know, as a striker, you know, a lot, you play on instinct. That's just kind of what you do. And that's why you are often the fox in the box, and while everyone's thinking what's happening, you've nipped in and scored. When you have too much time as a striker, sometimes it can be the worst thing. And you know, that how Sparky's kind of carried that weight for so long because he hasn't been scoring the goals. You know, hats off to him even more that he kind of had the composure to keep his head in that moment and stick it away. Good for him.
The wildest thing for me, Matt, on that goal is the defending. Like, honestly, if you watched the highlights, you'll be thinking, oh, that must be like in the last minute of the game or
Yeah,
something.
I know.
Left throwing everyone forward. But it was, what, 25, 30 minutes
I
left?
know. Wild.
Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, and you know, I think it was Pert Harris who then played BDK, who then obviously
Mm.
kind of saw, you know, where Harris was, but his incredible vision by BDK. Yeah, it was great.
I think inevitably, I think we all knew that Leicester were going to get one back, right? Because that's just football. That's football law. You always concede a goal when you're 2-0 up away from home. But it wasn't overly terrible at the end. Now, obviously, as Oxford fans, we're all thinking, oh my God, we're going to concede any second here. But a bit like, you know, a bit like the Bolton playoff final, you know, we all felt that something terrible was going to happen at the end. But actually, when you look at it objectively, it didn't look like they were going to score at all. And at the end, so lovely to see our new manager, Bloomers, there just getting so emotional at the end. I mean, in his interviews, he comes across a bit boring, but to see that kind of passion at the end, I thought was a lovely thing.
It was great. It was an all round great display, and to see him, you know, I guess after those two draws, and you know, going away to Leicester, not expected to win. I guess the fact that we did get those 3 points is like his building. We got 5 points from his first 3 games, and he really wanted that first win. He really wanted that first goal, and he's got it. And it was lovely to see exactly that, him run over to the Oxford fans. And I guess that's what we've been missing with Gary Rowett for so long. It was just Mr. No emotion and maybe a quick clap. So I think Oxford fans kind of quite like that from their managers to show that kind of passion. And I guess, you know, listen, he's only been in the door for a few days, but maybe it's a bit of that, you know, relieving of that pressure to kind of get that first win. And, you know, and the Oxford fans were brilliant, by the way,
Oh, weren't they?
yesterday. Incredible, you know, turnout. And a lot of Leicester fans online have been saying fair play. Actually, Oxford turned up as a fan base, and from the first kick, we're back in their team. So it was lovely to see. It was just kind of capped a perfect day, really, didn't it?
Not for me. Definitely not the perfect. Thanks very much for that particular choice.
Oh,
Would have been the
mate.
perfect
I've
day
now
had
got this vision of you still up at 3 a.m. listening to Leicester phone-ins.
Honestly, I'm not great in a cast. I've had like nasty injuries before,
Oh,
and
mate.
I'm not good in the cast. It has to
Oh,
be said.
God.
So yeah, not the perfect day for me, but a perfect
Oh,
day for
sorry.
Oxford United, and that's what we are celebrating. Interestingly, Matt, Leicester have just sacked their manager.
Breaking
They are
news.
basically the club that I'm desperate that we don't become. They've had, count them, Matt, 6 managers since 2023.
But they won the Premier League 10 years ago, was it? Was it
10 years
2016?
ago.
That's
Yeah.
wild, isn't it? They've won the FA Cup since then as well. You know, so it's incredible to hear, to almost see that kind of fall from grace. But again, it's another scout for us, isn't it? Teams like Oxford, you know, you lose to teams like Oxford, and that's what happens. And yeah, they sound like a bit of a basket case. And I've not read into the whole kind of financial side of things, but it doesn't sound good. And apparently, a points deduction could be coming their way this season. So
I think they're in
not
big
looking good.
trouble. I really do. When
Yeah.
we're looking at teams who I think we can catch up with, I think, you know, if they get the points deduction it's going between somewhere in 6 and 9 points, people are saying, I think they're in trouble
Ah. So
because
yeah,
there wasn't a great
interesting.
deal of fight going on there. Matt, obviously, a game I did go to was QPR. No injury for me that day. But, oh my God, what a desperate game it was. To be fair, I thought it was totally and utterly ruined by the weather.
Mm.
I haven't got much to say about it. I thought BDK had his worst game ever for us that day, and he looked totally and utterly knackered. You wanted to talk about BDK. I've got no idea what you wanted to say about him. I hope it doesn't open
Well,
a
no, what I
second.
was going to say was I think earlier on this season, I questioned his hunger and his desire for Oxford, and I wondered if we slip down the league, whether he'd kind of start shrugging his shoulders and not be bothered. But I have been so incredibly impressed by how he has dug in throughout the season, and at times kind of carried the side or tried to get things going when things were looking pretty desperate.
Mm.
And I thought, the QPR game was just him just being absolutely knackered and going like, I've given my all. So actually, when he was on the bench on Saturday, I was like, you know what, the lad needs a break. The lad needs a break. And what I loved is he came on and he gave it absolutely everything. And I
Yesterday
think
as
he's
well.
yeah, and I think he's got the fight. And I questioned it from the start. I thought maybe he's one of these luxury players. He's absolutely not. And maybe you can, point the finger at a kind of, Krastev or something like that around that. But BDK is not. He's got the talent, but also he's got the desire. And I'm not sure if you listened to Radio Oxford coverage, but Rosie was saying something very interesting around the fact that he was privy to a conversation in the corridors at Oxford United training ground the other day of just Cameron Brannigan and BDK just sitting there chatting football, chatting how much they've enjoyed playing each other, with each other, what they need to do to keep Oxford up, and how they need to work together and work on certain things. And I thought, that's lovely to see, because I'm sure when he came into the building, Cam probably went, is he up for the fight? Who is this guy? And he's really kind of proved that for me. So he was absolutely knackered against QPR, but I think he's been great for us.
Yes, interesting you mentioned that. I didn't hear that bit of commentary. I must have been like having plaster put on my arm or something.
Through an X-ray at that point.
Um, But yeah, there's a really nice photo of them actually on the official website, celebrating. I don't know if it's full time or one of the goals or something, but it's the two of them, and they've just got this kind of like little bromance photo going on. BDK and Cam Brand, this is. And I noticed it earlier. I thought, oh, that's really nice. It just showed they've got a real good thing going on. And now you tell me that story as well. That's a lovely thing. Matt, Bristol City. Were you at the Bristol City game?
I was. It was obviously, the first time we got to see Bloomfield. Is nice when he came out and came straight out to the fans, and that's obviously his style, isn't it? And I thought there was a lot of positivity about the game, and we were so desperately unlucky not to get that goal. Stan Mills at the end there, and was it the Kieran Brown header? So, but it felt like a new era. And I texted my dad afterwards, and I said it was 0-0, and the league table isn't looking great. However, there was quite a lot of positivity around the place, I just felt, and everyone seems to be behind Matt Bloomfield, and I thought it was quite a good start.
It's an interesting game. I thought that I've got this theory that how a team finishes a game is how the fans remember it, and we finished that game really, really well.
Very true.
Whereas if we'd played really well for the first 20 minutes, say, and then been crap for the next 17, it'd be not crap, but it's kind of quite a dour game. Because I thought we finished really, really well. I think everyone went home with a bit more positivity. Whereas had played really well for the first 20 and then been rubbish for the next 70, it would have been a very different vibe leaving the ground. But yeah, Bristol City are no mugs. I thought of the two teams, we were the better of the team. I'm sure Theo will talk about XG later on when he comes on. But I thought, yeah, a good point. Obviously, we need a bit more than points, but.
Yes, but
Would you take 5 points from 3 games?
Well, that's what I was going to say. 5 points to 3 games, you probably have taken it. And the league table looks a lot healthier this morning than it did, 48 hours ago. And you think, there's a few sides there who maybe haven't bolstered their ranks too much in January, who are on that kind of bit of a negative downslide. So 5 points from for those 3 games, I'm feeling pretty good about things, and I'm quite enjoying the Matt Bloomfield era so far.
It says here, Matt, you want to mention Mills and Brannigan.
I did say that, didn't I? I did say that. Stan Mills, for me, is turning into a really high quality championship player, and I think whenever he's on the pitch, we have a dangerous outlet. And there was a game. Was it against? He was against somewhere where he went off, and you're like, "Oh, give it to Mills," and he wasn't there, and you're like, "Oh, yeah, we're missing a bit of that threat." I just think he's when he came back to Oxford, everyone's like, "Oh, is he quite Championship level?" I think he's really good. I think he's an asset that other clubs will be looking at in the summer. And I think, not a lot has been mentioned about his crossing. I'm not saying he's an amazing crosser, but he's bloody good at digging a cross out from kind of nowhere in kind of tight situations. And I think he's been our best player over the last 2 or 3 months.
I think he's a bit inconsistent, but I think anyone who runs at the kind of speed that he runs at is going to be inconsistent. I've said this in other pods. I just think all the players we've ever had who we've labelled as being really, really inconsistent are just people who run at speed. Like even go back
Mm,
to like Yemi in the conference. Oh, he's so inconsistent. Yeah, but he's
mm,
running at 100 miles an hour. It's more difficult to kick the ball
mm,
straight when you're running really quickly. Whereas if you're David Beckham and you're just standing there pinging things from a standing position with a cultured right foot, everyone goes, "Oh, look at the pretty thing," but
mm,
he's not moving. Like, could he do that running at 35 kilometers an hour? Probably couldn't. So.
mm.
Yeah, I don't mind inconsistent fast wingers.
Yeah.
I
No, he's been good for me.
I
And then
like
I'll
them.
just speak very quickly about Cameron Brannigan, because I think we have a group of players now who are all pulling in the same direction and are all up for the fight. And I think the tone is set by Cameron Brannigan. I'm not necessarily just talking about him on the pitch. I think when people come in the building, we've had a lot of new faces. There's some. How many have we signed this January window? What, 4 or 5 already? A lot
Yeah,
coming in the summer, and I think he sets the standard in the dressing room to go, this is what's expected at this club, and everyone has to be at that level. There's just a few things that I notice where everyone is pulling in the right direction, and like Pert Harris, and a few of the new lads who have come in, they seem really to have gelled quickly, and I think he's a very, very good captain. I will say. I know we all love him, but I think we probably don't fully appreciate. We all see that kind of wears his heart on the sleeve on the pitch, and he's a real leader on the pitch. But I think he sets very high kind of expectations away from the pitch and on the training grounds. And I think that people coming into the Oxford to go, right, well, if he's doing that, we all need to be at that level.
good stuff, Matt. On my mate's WhatsApp group, I predicted 7 points from Leicester, Brum, Sheffield United, and Coventry,
Oh,
and I got laughed out of town. I am now 3 points into that already. What
okay.
what do you think we can get from the next 3
For the
games?
next three. Okay. Well, listen, I think we need to be winning home games against clubs that are, you know, from playoffs downwards. So I'm looking at Birmingham and I'm going, that needs to be 3 points if we are to stay up. Sheffield United away on a Tuesday. I remember we played the midweek last season and you know, we're
Show up,
nowhere
yeah.
near them, lost 3-0, I
Mm.
think, and hardly touched the ball. That's a tough game. And then Cov are obviously riding high, and it's going to be tough. But if we got 4 points, I'd be happy. I think.
Well, I've predicted 7 from these 4, so yeah, I need to get 4 from the next 3. I think I said a draw against Brum, a win at Sheffield United.
Oh
When
wow!
when did we win there? We won there once, didn't we? Was it Nicky
Yeah.
Banger whacked one in really late on?
What
Good
was
old
that
Nicky,
1-1?
Nicky
I
Banger.
remember Bain just scored that.
I think it's the year we got relegated from the Championship, so maybe that's not a
Yeah,
good omen. Um, Excellent, Matt. What a lovely little chat. We got some signings to talk about now.
we do.
On the subject, Matt, of fans being wrong. I had a huge rant that went semi-viral, you recall, saying we should not be trying to sign many players in the January transfer window because you never get anyone good. This literally just shows what I know.
Well, first, let's just say MPH looks incredible. So I'm not sure when
Mm,
we'll get to speak about him again on this episode, but he's looked flipping great. And who knows if
mm.
he's a winger or not? Probably not. I think maybe his best position is somewhere else. Donnelly really, unfortunate in that game, but this McDonald lad looks decent. He looks very good, doesn't he? Obviously, Mansfield fans raved about it, but
Mm.
I don't know. He seems like one of those players who can do a job now, but if we do get relegated, which I guess is still a fairly high probability, Absolutely fantastic player to have in League One, and to, kind of be part of the squad to look at bouncing straight back. So I think it's a good bit of business. And all the signings, this is what I like, all the signings that we're kind of making are, in the main, look like players who are coming to do a job now, but also, obviously we'd lose the loan players, but the ones that we're signing will make us a very, very, very strong League One side.
There's amazing stats on this morning's dub. I don't know if you've had a listen to it yet, but George Ellick said that McDonnell attempted 14 passes in the match, 14, 1-4, and he completed 3 of them, I think it was.
Yeah.
But my WhatsApp group, as I was waiting in the waiting room at the hospital, was absolutely buzzing with my mates saying, "This guy's incredible." So
Yeah,
I'm guessing he must have just been winning challenges all over the field and just
that's it.
like harrying and challenging, which is, that's what a good midfield needs. Somebody who does that, right?
Yeah, get stuck in. Whether it's Mickey Lewis down the years or whoever, we like that kind of player. Um, at Oxford United. Speaking of Mickey Lewis-like challenges,
Mm. Eunice Konak, goodness me, he's arrived with quite a lot of expectation on him.
mm,
Obviously, people are saying that he is the future of Turkish football. He seemed a little overwhelmed on debut. He'd only just joined, to be fair, right? And he kind of chucked into a real battle. I haven't seen the tackle that he was booked for, but I'm told it was tasty. um, tell me
no,
more.
listen, I mean, I think, maybe a bit too much has been made of the fact. And I think if he hadn't been kind of pulled at half time, you'd think it was, it was a fine display. I think, to your point, he really, really, really clearly wanted to impress. And maybe there was a bit of over eagerness in everything he did. However, so I think there's a lot bit of focus on that. Oh, he flew into a few many challenges. He didn't have a cool head, and that's why he was pulled at half time. And maybe he's too young and not experienced enough. However, I was watching him quite a lot during the 45 minutes, and what I loved about him, and I think Oxford fans over time will really, really appreciate this, he wanted the ball all the time. Like, there was when Jamie Cumming had the ball, he's like, "Give it to me, give it to me." I'm like, "Mate, chill out." We've been scarred by Will Volks and even Cameron Brownings, to a certain point of, that deep lying defensive position and putting astray passes. But he wanted the ball all the time. He wanted to start things. And I think he just got a bit overexcited a few challenges. But I'm excited to see more of him.
We've got quite a lot of options going on in midfield now. Give me your
Who'd have
starting
thought?
3. Give me
Who'd have thought?
we were saying literally, a couple of weeks ago, "Oh, we haven't got enough in midfield," and now
I
we've got
know.
potentially 6, 7 options. Who's your
I
starting
know.
3?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because, I mean, you have to have Brannigan and you have to have De Keersmaker, I would say.
Mm.
So then, also, kind of, where do you play everyone as well? Do you play? I mean, I guess at the moment, oh, yeah, it's tough, isn't it?
That's why
What are you feeling?
fans don't know what they're talking about, right? It's because, we're not seeing them in training. We're not, we don't,
What would
all
you?
we
What
see
would
is
you? Okay, what would you go for, on Saturday?
absolutely no idea. I can't pick a 3 from it. I'd like to see MPH more either on the right or possibly even in the number 10 position,
I'd quite
but
like to
that
see him at the
complicates
number
things
10.
further.
See, that's why I was holding back what I was going to say, because I'd quite like to see him at the number 10.
Hmm.
Um,
Complicated. That's
Too
why we're
many
not the manager.
options. I know, too
We've
many options, and we've not said that about midfield in a very long time.
also got another player we need to factor in now, and there's talk of more coming in, but let's talk about Jin Woo-jeong. I think hopefully I've said that right. I need to speak to my Korean friends at work to get the what a highlights reel he's got.
What a sizzle reel! I
Have
mean,
you got
it's
one that from your Banbury days? Was there Banbury?
it's very old now. Another 20 years younger, because I was. Jin Woo Jeon. I mean, let's see. But I mean, again, very exciting, right? And this is what no one seems to be able to ask me: is he an out-and-out striker?
I think he's a winger, isn't he? That's what
He's a
I've heard.
winger, yeah. So
Yeah.
let's see. He's got some goals in him. yeah, exciting. I guess. Let's see. But yeah, interesting.
Voice of realism coming in over here,
Mm,
or negativity, as my
yeah,
WhatsApp
I know.
group
I think I
mates
know
would
where you
say.
might be going here.
Um, I had a count this morning, Matt.
Yeah,
42 players currently on our books.
42.
42.
How
If they
many
get us
out
a
on
point
loan at the
each,
moment?
we might stay up. That's 6 are out on loan, I think. But
6 out
that's
on loan. So what we're saying, we've got almost 36.
yeah, that's 3
And
teams we could put out. That's too many, Matt. I'm saying
how many? What's this? What's the squad we need to have? 25,
26. Is it 26?
26.
Plus you'll add a few youngsters. But
Yeah. So I guess that's the problem. Does anyone want our players who are probably on, and it's the point that you go back to, probably on championship wages, and the only clubs that who'd really take them are kind of League One clubs. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Um,
It's interesting to. One of my little games that I play now is to see who hasn't made the bench. Which is quite interesting. And Krastev, I think I'm
mm.
right in saying, didn't make it on Saturday.
But
And
what if,
obviously Dembele's been around that as well.
mm,
So
there are players who we've signed on loan, and we don't know the terms of their deal. Maybe
mm,
we have to pay them for the whole season. I don't know,
yeah.
right? But we definitely need to get some out, and I think it's going to be easier said than done, to be
Yeah, I
honest.
would like to. I would like to see us get rid of a few players. Actually,
Matt, on the subject of player trading, it's not long until Nutmeg will become a reality on our PCs. It's a nostalgic football management game in which you take over managing a team and you're able to buy and sell real players from the 80s and 90s. Matt, let's say you're managing an Oxford United team of the early 90s. Which player would you like to sign?
okay. So early 90s, but
Early.
presumably, Oxford at that time would not. I couldn't just go for like Cantona or Marquise or
No,
something.
it's got to be someone who we could
Realistic, realistically.
realistically
So there
sign.
were a few players back in that time who, I used to watch and go, "Oh, if only we had them, that would allow us to do this and that kind of thing." But the player who I always kind of thought, "Oh God, he's dangerous and he just scores every single game," is a striker called Guy Whittingham. And I
Okay.
think there was a
Yeah.
season when playing for Portsmouth in the early 90s where he scored like 45 goals or something.
Wasn't it 50? Did
Uh,
he get 50 or am I
did he
mistaken with
get to
Steve Broad?
50?
Yeah, it's a stupid amount of
It
goals.
was a stupid amount, yeah. So,
They signed
but
him from the army, didn't they? They bought him for
he
like
was
a pair of
that's it.
socks and
Yeah, he had a great backstory, absolutely that. He came into the professional game kind of a bit later in life. He'd been in the army. I think they picked him up from the army, and he just scored for fun. Like he'd score like, threes and fours week in, week out, and it's like incredible. So he would have helped us in the early 90s. What about you, Dan?
do you know who I had such regrets about? There was a young lad called Stan Collymore playing for Crystal Palace Reserves, and I have it on very, very good authority that we were dead keen on signing him. Maurice Evans had spotted him, and I think we offered something like £100,000 for him. And they said, no, we want a little bit more. And we said no. And instead, Matt, we bought Nick Cusack.
No way.
The big elbows, immobile, goalless, and
Although he did score a
Southampton.
header against Leicester.
He did score a header against Leicester.
Away at Leicester, I remember.
I think he got about 12 goals over 2 or 3
Yeah,
seasons.
he was
He
very
really was.
poor. He
Yeah,
was
we
poor.
could have had Stan Collymore for just like 5 or
Did,
6 grand more. And he went to Southend,
he went
ripped
to
it up.
Southend. He
Yeah,
scored against us when he was
he
playing
did.
for Southend, I think. I think they came to the Manor and won like 2 or 3, and Collymore was unplayable.
And we had Cusack elbowing
We
people.
had Cusack. Oh yeah, I mean Collymore in the Oxford yellow, that would have been good. Collymore and Whittingham up front, that would have been fantastic. And we have checked, Stan, and both players are available on Nutmeg.
They are indeed. As Matt, is a friend of the pod, the Edgar Street David Platt. John Narbet is available, although if you look at his stats here, he's not boasting a super strong set of attributes. Come on, Secret Mode Games, surely we can make the Narb a bit more of a secret weapon. Do you not remember his assist for Joey's goal against Millwall?
Who can forget? So it's that time of the week again. Theo is joining us from his stats corner. And Theo, with 3 games in to Bloom Ball, what have you made of it so far? Any particular stats to pick out?
So after a win like yesterday, I can understand maybe people skipping this bit and wanting more vibes-based analysis. But there have been some quite interesting differences from the small sample size of games we've had so far under Bloomfield. On XG, we've comfortably won the XG battle in all 3 of the games so far, including yesterday, which didn't happen that often under Shaw or at Rowett. And in that time, we've managed 3.9 XG. Now, look, the 5 points that we've got so far is obviously great, but I hope we can also get a little bit excited about underperforming our XG as well. As a broad brush, it suggests that the Bloomfield system is sort of working and that we're really competitive in games and possibly unlucky not to have more points than we have, which I think those that have been to the games would probably agree with that, especially the Bristol City one. And hopefully, if you listen to Ali and George on Not the Top 20 when they're talking about championship managers being sacked, they often say, it's a lot of variance, manager bounce. New manager bounce is just the little things in the games changing slightly. But I would hope that this maybe suggests there's a lot more in the tank for Bloomfield and it's more than just a new manager bounce. The other part of winning the XG battle is obviously the defence. And in terms of big chances against, which I'll let you look up the definition, but you might take it with a pinch of salt once you read it. But Leicester had no big chances. QPR also 0. Bristol City also 0. For a bit of reference, MK Dons made 2 and Ipswich had 1 against us as well. And shots on target against Leicester managed 4 yesterday. QPR had 2 against us. Bristol City had 1. Before that, MK Dons had 8, Ipswich 6, Swansea 5. The final game's under Rowett, Charlton 4, and then reading backwards 2, 3, 4, 7, 5. So definitely, we've solidified. And again, if you've been to the games, I'm sure you'll have noticed that.
A big part of that, Theo, must be the press. It says so because you told me to ask about it. Tell us all about the press. I love a press. Oh, I love a press.
Gives a good press any day.
The XP.
This is not. Unfortunately, there's not an XP. But yesterday, our front 3 of Pert, Harris, Mills, and Harris competed in 25 duels against Leicester, and they won 15 of them, which is not particularly stand out against the rest of the season. Pert Harris has been fantastic at this measure since he's come in. Mills generally returns good numbers. Harris had his best game on that one for a long time. The dual stats obviously are only half the story because you don't know where on the pitch these duels are happening, right? But maybe it's a reasonable assumption to say that removing the number 10 and having the wingers slightly higher and maybe slightly narrower makes it harder for the opposition to just pass it around our lone striker. So maybe that was part of the reason why we were so much more effective pressing them on the ball. Of players not playing, a couple of interesting pointers. Krastev has some of the best dual stats out of any of our players. I wonder if possibly that's a way back into the reckoning for him, if this is going to be our approach in away games going forward. On the opposite side of the spectrum, one player that has had absolutely dreadful statistics on this measure is Shemi. He barely ever gets involved in a duel, and if he does, he almost never wins them. So that might possibly change his role in these kind of games going forward to more of an impact sub.
Interesting stuff.
I'd written Krastev off earlier, but
yeah, I mean, I've written. Don't get me wrong, I've written him off as well. I think I think it probably still is quite likely. I doubt Bloomfield's going to hear me talking on this podcast and be like, right.
You never know. You never know.
He's a big fan.
Dan,
what's his expected listen? XL.
Well, I know you like to do your expected this, that's, and the other. So I've got a new one for you. Expected XT. Expected togetherness. How many times did we hear that word yesterday from the comms and on WhatsApp groups afterwards? So I'm going to say our XT is the highest it's had been since the final game of last season against Swansea.
I agree with you.
He
I was
loved the
saying,
group as well. He loved the group. He talked quite a lot about
yeah, he did.
the
I
togetherness
know
of
you
the
don't
group.
love the mention of the group, but he did mention the group a lot. There we
Good
go.
stuff. Thanks ever so much, Theo. Okay. No John Narbic game this week, Matt. We will. We'll have a John Narbic game with our very important guest who's coming up in the next show. A quick reminder of that next show. It's an interview with the person who scored, in my opinion, the greatest goal ever in an Oxford United shirt. It's coming later this week. We've had a few guesses on our socials as to whom it might be. Quite a few guesses for Peter Levin. I can tell you it's definitely not Peter Levin.
Not surprising.
My brother Rob has guessed Matt Elliott, who obviously scored that wonder goal at Carlisle in the promotion season. It is not Matt Elliott. I want you to think more about the goal in its think about all the attributes of what makes a great goal.
Oh, you are you are such a tease. You are such a tease. Before we go, a couple of stories from our socials that we just wanted to pick up on. Firstly, our video about 1980s football got over, Dan, wait for it, 100,000 views on TikTok and a YouTube short, which is pretty incredible and a bit mad, and it's blown our mind, hasn't it, Dan?
Oh, I always knew I was going to go viral at some point. My kids are so embarrassed, honestly, seeing me on TikTok. They absolutely hate it. Yeah, very funny. 100,000 views, totally mad. My follow-up video, alas, did not do quite so well. But, Matt, for those who didn't see it, and that was quite a lot of those 100,000 who didn't see the follow-up video, but I put a request out for any old VHS tapes. Now, the club used to sell these, Matt, in the club shop. These were filmed, like, absolutely hilarious. This one was a match.
Who's on the front of that one? Ray Houghton? Is that Brocky?
That's Brocky. That is Kevin Brock.
Against Everton?
But this is a game against Liverpool that we lost 3-1 from the 86-87 season. But basically, it's to go into the club shop a couple of days after the game, and they would be selling these. And it was basically the most basic recording you've ever seen. Single camera, no highlights, no replays, no commentary. Just literally, you could hear like the camera person like groaning, complaining about how cold it is and stuff. But this is how we used to watch football in those seasons, because most of our games were not shown on TV. So that glory era of Oxford United, and sadly, most of the games just do not exist. But I reckon there must be some more tapes like this out there. Did you have any, Matt? Did you?
I was trying to think. I can clearly remember them on display at the club shop on London Road, and I think they used to be right by the till. And I remember, to your point, Dan, it was from the game the week before, and they'd just be there, and there was like 3 or 4 copies. Wild. So there must be some out there, right? I do remember them. Little call to action to all Oxford fans, and we've all got stuff in our lofts and that, but have a look, and if you can dust them down, give them to Dan, and he'll do his magic.
I'll get them digitized and put them onto YouTube, because there are so many games from that era. Like our first season in the top division, there was no TV deal for the first half of that, so none of our games were shown on telly. Nothing. Like there's one on YouTube from the one we saw a couple of weeks ago, the match against Liverpool, which is basically one of these digitized. So if you've got any of those tapes out there, have a look in your loft, see if you've got any of your dad's old VHS tapes up there. Just make sure you haven't got your kids in the room when you play.
On that bombshell, that was a lot of fun. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you soon. We're going to come back with a very, very special guest as well. So that'll be coming soon as well. But don't forget, as we were saying, to subscribe, to comment, and share with your friends and family.
Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll see you later this week.
The big man with a big goal on the big occasion.